Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto changed after the wave mission and won Tenten and Temari with his shadow clone power part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Just imagine pouring out chakra from your foot, Kakashi mused, or maybe not pouring it. Pretend you have like a tube on the bottom of your feet and it's thin and narrow, and it reaches the bottom of the lake. Now push your chakra through that. And don't stop, or you'll fall. Rin nods slowly. A tube, thin, push chakra, reaches bottom. Hey, you're doing it Rin-chan. Obito cheered. Good job. Am I? Rin's eyes widened. That's. Kakashi snorts as she falls in. I thought we'd established that you had to continue concentrating. Minato appeared suddenly, behind Obito, freaking the genin out. How are we going? Bad. Obito complained. Bakashi's the worst teacher. Rin was shivering on the bank of the lake. Well, he gives good tips, but they're hard to follow for us genin. Lesson 1. Kakashi mutters, before sitting down cross-legged on the water. Minato sighed, before walking onto the water. He holds out a hand for Obito to grab, and the Uchiha lets his sensei pull him onto the water. Now I want you to focus. Sensei. I can do it. Kakashi looked up, seeing Naruto and Sasuke standing timidly on the water, not daring to walk, as Sakura was trying to jump from one side to the other without falling in. Good job, Fox. What's the time now? Sasuke squints at the sky. About 11 something. Kakashi looks up. 11:24. Close. Now, you're all going to get a good night's sleep, alright? Then we'll try walking. Hi. The three of them bowed, before rushing inside to the warmth, where they could take a warm shower and get rid of their shivering. Kakashi hummed, straightening, before walking up a tree and stood lightly on the top branch. He flexed his fingers, before calling for his shadow clones. They all knew what Kakashi wanted, and split up into trios and landed on a tree in each group. Group 7. Kakashi called. He always did that. It was always Group 7 first. As he fought against himself, he mused about letting Naruto do shadow clone work. Now it would seem like a good idea, but would exhaust his chakra for a whole day when he first begins, so with the shadow of an employer who hired Nukenin, that wasn't ideal. Maybe Kakashi would let him do it after this, to speed up his progress before the Chunin exams. Now about his other students. He couldn't teach them the Kage Bushin. No, they didn't have the characteristics of a Jinchuriki for the training to be effective. Sakura was already like a nurse, so some training in medical ninjutsu would be good. Oh, but then he'd need to ask the kids to choose what they wanted to specialize in. Kakashi smiled as one of his clones pulled a familiar roundhouse feint and instead shunshined behind him and a punch was on its way to the back of the real Kakashi's head. The Hatake remembered using that during one of his Anbu missions, earning the nickname, Shunshin Trickster, in his current Anbu team. Ducking and swirling around with his leg outstretched, Kakashi wasn't surprised to see his clone jump over his leg. After all, he was fighting against himself. But it was a sudden chakra spike that made him stop, holding up a hand. Hold it. A hanged clone of his stumbled forwards, clothes tattered. Real me. Sup. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. What happened? The clone groaned. He's hired Zabuza Momochi. The demon of the mist, Kakashi muses, and what happened? Because I'm a clone and I'm hanged, I did minimum damage. He'll probably have a sore right leg for the time being. That's okay. Wanna be replaced? Yes. Righto. Team 2 number 3. Can you take over this clone's job? Oh, and have the same henge please. Hi. Kakashi nods at the clone, thanks it, before it puffs away, out of existence. Let's continue training. It was 2 am. The earliest Kakashi had even gotten up his team. Wakey wakey, Kakashi chirped, time to get up. All three of them groaned. Sakura hid under the covers, Naruto rolled onto his side to continue sleeping and Sasuke covered his eyes with a hand. Kakashi's smile faded. Oi, wretches. You've got 1 minute and I want to see you at the front door. Kakashi shunshined away, and his genin shot out of bed. They all slept on the floor without blankets, despite Tsunami's protests as Kakashi explained it was for them to get used to it, with nothing but their cloaks over their old gear, but even if it was cold, they all abided by lesson 1. 1 minute, Sakura muttered, bolting to her feet and combing her fingers through her hair. Where's my headband? Here. Naruto tossed it to her. Here's yours. Let's go before sensei gets mad, Sasuke murmurs, before opening the door, waiting for his teammates to ready themselves. All they really needed to do was put their headbands on, tie their thigh pouches on and crack their knuckles and they were done. Kakashi's lecture when they had slept without their gear on, which happened earlier in the week, had really gotten the genin into sleeping in their gear. Cloaks on, Sakura reminded them, giving the boys theirs as the three of them sprinted to the front door. Kakashi had managed to get the white number 7 etched onto their black cloaks before they left, and it gave the genin a sense of teamwork, unity and companionship when they wore it together. Kakashi was there waiting, as was Tazuna. Good job, brats. 1 minute. Tazuna was speechless. Actually came in 1 minute, that was fast. Hi. Sakura nods. Where are we going? To the bridge, Kakashi replies. What for? Sasuke's brow furrowed. Our mission's done. We'll escort him to the bridge and then come back, Kakashi says. Naruto yawns, before grinning. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Trust Naruto to have so much energy in the morning, Sakura mutters, eyes still droopy. It's 2 baka. We've slept for 3 hours. Why are we going to the bridge at 2 in the morning? Sasuke asked, stretching as they made their way slowly through the mist to the bridge. The genin had no idea which way they were going, and apparently neither did Kakashi, so they all trailed behind Tazuna. Kakashi shrugged. He wants to. It's safer in the morning, Tazuna mutters, no one around. You mean? Sasuke narrowed his eyes, no one around to assassinate or attack you. Tazuna doesn't reply. Naruto shifts uncomfortably in his orange jacket for the millionth time, and Sakura tugs at her skirt to make it lower, both of them still not used to wearing their old clothes. Sasuke, however, was glancing back at his Uchiha crest every now and then, as if confirming it was still there, but was otherwise perfectly fine with his clothing. Kakashi smiled under his mask. At least they liked their new Team 7 uniform. That's the bridge, Tazuna gulped. See. Nope. Naruto says cheerfully, the fog's too thick. Are you sure we're in the right spot? Naruto, blow it away. Hi, sensei. Futon. Daitapa. You don't need to yell it. But sensei, mutter it or something. Okay. As the fog cleared, there were 4 people there waiting, as if they knew Tazuna and his bodyguards were coming. They blocked the way to the bridge, all of them armed, the shine of metal littered around their bodies. 2 of them looked familiar, one was famous, and another one was hidden behind a mask. The demon brothers, Sasuke hissed, how are they here? Easy. Naruto shrugged, as if at ease, except for his hand creeping closer to his thigh pouch. Someone cut them free, and it isn't someone good. I'm sure that the road patrol was coming after us, Sakura grumbled. You're not wrong, Kakashi nods, but they came before the patrol. Zabuza Momochi. The infamous Nukenin smirked. Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi I smiled. Oh, am I famous now? That's nice to know. Kill them all, Zabuza called. Leave Hatake to me. Protect Tazuna at all costs, Kakashi orders, as the masked person, it looked like a girl, but the body shape said otherwise, and the demon brothers charged. The masked person, who walked with grace and looked feather-light, was an interesting contrast to the demon brothers, who were heavy and clambering towards the Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto grins. All right, he bellows. Let's have a rematch, knuckleheads. Sasuke rolled his eyes, pulling out 2 kunai in each hand. You're the knucklehead. I'm taking that as a compliment. Naruto replies, and the 2 of them jog to meet the 2 demon brothers, who looked all too happy to battle against the 2 boys. Sakura, take him. Is that a guy? I think. Now I'll take Momochi, so be careful. Hi, sensei. Zabuza smiled sadistically. Haku, rip her apart. Hi. Haku's voice was emotionless and the boy darted around Sakura, whose mind was analyzing the situation carefully. Kakashi closed his eyes, pulled up his Hitai-8, and opened both Mismatch's eyes, the red one swirling hypnotically. He was going to need this Sharingan if he wanted to be able to fight Zabuza Momochi, an A-ranked Nukenin, and protect Tazuna at the same time. He trusted his students, he really did, but something felt off. The air smelt stale, the water was odorless, which was weird, because water usually smells, and Kakashi could smell the scent of snakes on their opponents. Something was off. Pipe / pipe / pipe. Sakura stood opposite of Haku, eyes alert. Haku stood there, motionless, only the occasional twitch of his hands. Sakura narrowed her eyes. She leant down, touching the ground, seeing Haku's eyes shine with alert as Sakura touched the ground. The Sakura shot up, bounding back a bit, and Haku did the same. The girl smiled to herself. So he didn't know anything about her, but she also didn't know anything about him. Shanaru, Sakura muttered, slamming her hand on the ground, making the ground underneath them rumbled and turn upside down. Haku's eyes widen, but then jump gracefully from one stone to another, maintaining his balance. He raised an arm, landing lightly out of Sakura's rock area. Haijutsu, Makio Hyosho. Sakura had no time to leap out of the danger zone, ice mirrors appeared all around her, but the weird thing was, they started to melt as soon as they were formed. Haku leapt into a mirror, appearing everywhere. Sakura grunts and throws a chakra-infused punch at a melting mirror, but did nothing but a tiny scratch. I'm not going to get out, Sakura muttered. But they're melting. Kuso, if only Blue was here. Haku in the mirrors held up a hand, the melting stopped, shifting and blending in with the rest of the mirrors. Sakura's eyes widened in horror. I have now impaired your vision of your teammates, Haku smiles softly, though they will hear you. The mirrors won't be penetrated by anything from the outside, it can only be destroyed by me or a large attack from you, which I highly doubt will happen. Sakura growled. Mirrors it's a gigantic mirror dome. And it was. With the melting at the start, the mirrors had molded into a totally different form. Instead of forming a makeshift dome using rectangular mirrors, all of the mirrors had connected and now created one mirror dome, completely surrounding Sakura, who couldn't see past the ice. She had no idea how the others were going, and Kakashi now didn't either, as Sakura and Haku were in the middle of Kakashi and the boys. I apologize if this hurts too much, Haku bows, and all of his reflections copy him. But if Zabuza-san orders it, I shall do it. Fuck. Sakura let out a hiss as 3 Senbon embed themselves into her arm. She closed her eyes, cursing her bad luck. She wasn't the fast one, no, she was the strong one. She had no idea what to do against ice release, isn't that a Kekkei Genkai anyways, and even if she did, that mirror dome was practically invulnerable. You can just stay still and I can kill you with one shot, Haku suggested, in the mirror, as if he had never left in the first place. Sakura grit her teeth. Lesson 13, never give up. This one may seem obvious, but since you brats need to hear it again, lesson 13 is never give up. Understood. Now go do that taijutsu formation or I'll zap you to hell and back. Haku tilted his head to the side. I'm sorry, I don't understand. You're not supposed to. Sakura grunts, I am going to murder you. I unfortunately cannot accept that. Haku flashed back and forth, nailing Senbon at Sakura's exposed body. But some of them bounced off of her not Anbu cloak, frustrating Haku to no ends. Sakura had used the cloak as a shield, covering her body with it as she crouched. She picked out the Senbon, hissing quietly as more hit her. Sakura narrowed her eyes. There was no poison or anything on the Senbon, so it was better to leave them inside her body to stop the bleeding. Sakura closed her eyes. One of her traits that Kakashi had picked up on was that she thought like Inara. She analyzed the situation first, and if she was up against an opponent greater in power than her caution switch would turn on and instantly be on defense. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but always being on defense wasn't good either. Sakura took in a deep breath, before standing up, letting herself be vulnerable. If she thought like Inara, well, she'll use that to her advantage. Pipe / pipe / pipe. Nice to see y'all again. Naruto bowed before straightening quickly, and I hope I don't see y'all again. Futon. Datappa. Sasuke watched from the side as Naruto's gigantic gust blew at a frightening speed, aimed straight at the demon brothers. But as Sasuke was about to launch forwards and defeat one with taijutsu, the two of them leapt to the side, their chain broken in half, not by Naruto, but it seemed like it was detachable. Woo! Naruto retreated, they're faster. Much. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Payback. One bellowed. Sasuke tried taunting. What's your name again? Something that means ugly. Oh whoops, ugly doesn't even compare to you. It's Gozu. The man yelled. And you're paying for what you did. Naruto sidestepped Gozu's attack, letting Sasuke deal with him. That left the other brother, and Naruto. The other man, with the gauntlet on his right hand, started to spin the chain menacingly. Dude, Naruto dodged all the attacks, but one managed to graze him. You couldn't do that last time. The demon brother bared his teeth. There's something called training. Kuso. Naruto cursed, you use poison. Giving himself a good distance away from the demon brother, Naruto ripped a part of his shirt off and tied it tightly around his bicep, his forearm already turning purple from where he was grazed. It's Mizu, not Kuso. The Nukenin deadpans. Naruto smiled cheerfully. I never asked, scum. Mizu growled. Children are so infuriating these days, Hia. Naruto barely dodged the flying chain, eyes bulging at the sight of the chain cracking down on the ground, creaking a crack in the soil. These Nukenin had powered up, by a lot. A lot. The Jinchuriki flipped and landed lightly, still dodging attacks, not able to get close to do anything. Naruto blocked a chain attack using his kunai, but his blade shattered against Mizu's, and Naruto leapt back and his back hit someone else's. Is it just me or duck, are they superpowered? Naruto said, not even glancing back. Sasuke grunts, his back against Naruto's. Not just you. They joined chains, be careful, way more powerful than last time. This guy couldn't even do decent taijutsu last time and now he's better than me. We're going to do our ultimate jutsu. Gozu bellowed. Lesson 11, Sasuke hissed. Got it, Naruto nods, before focusing deeply on his chakra, not even reacting when Sasuke turned around and leapt on him, clutching the boy tightly. Futon. Datappa. The hurricane-like wind blew downwards, and the two genin shot up into the air. Naruto had angled it so they would fly backwards, out of the danger zone. The two brothers had bellowed, Suiten, Daibikufu no Jutsu. The water from the lake nearby rose up to meet the sky, and came barreling towards the spot the two genin were supposed to be, but they were still caught in the water, having underestimated the attack's height. Sasuke broke the surface first, coughing and paddling towards the only orange thing he could see. And when he reached it, he cursed. It was just the jacket. Over here, Naruto called, coughing up blood. He had been slammed straight onto Haku's ice dome, his back severely damaged. Ah, I think you're by yourself. Crap. Sasuke shrugged off his jacket and lay it over Naruto. Heal as quickly as possible, Dobi. Naruto gave him a weak thumbs up. I'll try, Dadbeo. Sasuke nods and stands up shakily, his eyes a red color with a spinning tomo. Even if he only had two tomos in one and one in the other, it was still the Sharingan. The two demon brothers freeze at the sight. I thought they both died. Gozu muttered. His brother blanched. Obviously not. I am going to murder you. Sasuke grunted, applying chakra to the bottom of his feet, and bolting towards the Nukenin without them even realizing. Pipe slash backslash pipe backslash slash pipe. So, Hitaki, Zabuza approaches the Jonin slowly. Are you sure your students can hold against mine? Kakashi I smiles again. Yes. After all, they can definitely beat half-assed attempts at creating a genius student. Shut the up, Hokage pet, Zabuza spat. We all know that if it wasn't for the Sandame's smothering, you'd be one of us. Kakashi shrugged, shoving Tazuna back roughly as Zabuza advanced. Maybe, maybe not, but here we are now, and I don't regret staying in the village. I get to take care of these three brats, see? Well then die, Zabuza sneered, Kakashi Hitaki, known as the Hokage's spoilt pet. You know, Kakashi remarks, the same insult usually doesn't work twice. Zabuza pulled out his sword, leaping forwards to slice the Jonin in half. Kakashi's face turned to stone. But that hurt. I'm going to murder you. The Nukenin faltered a bit, hearing the key in Kakashi's voice, and the air felt charged with electricity. Zabuza's attack lacked strength, and so Kakashi easily stopped it, and twisted around to kick Zabuza in the face. He did, but then Zabuza melted away into a puddle of water. Using clones are we? Kakashi smirked. Right up my alley. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Going into a full-on clone battle, Kakashi could almost feel himself in every clone, fighting as them as they fought against Zabuza's water clones. Of course, shadow clones were more effective, but with Kakashi's Sharingan out and having to keep constant awareness, Kakashi was losing the clone battle. Losing your touch are we? Zabuza mocked, appearing behind the Jonin. Right up my alley. Sweden no Jutsu. Obito's eye easily copied the hand seals, and Kakashi dodged the huge water stream coming from Zabuza's mouth. The Konoha nin slid to a stop on the ground, hands blurring together. Sweden no Jutsu. Zabuza blocked the attack using his gigantic sword, which Kakashi identified as Kubikiribocho, one of the swords used by the seven swordsmen of the mist. It could regenerate if it could get a bit of blood, and Kakashi's wasn't planning on doing that. Tazuna, Kakashi appeared beside the old man. Run. Tazuna was still processing the fact that he might actually die here. I said. Kakashi blocked an attack, before decapitating another water clone. Run. Alright, Tazuna turned to bolt, when another Zabuza appeared, blocking his way. Oh hell no, I was hired to kill you, Zabuza grinned, before swinging with Kubikiribocho, aiming for Tazuna's neck. Kakashi shunshined at the perfect time, catching the blade with his bare hands, blood leaking out from his gloves. I said run. Kakashi's voice was cold and left no room for argument. Now. Hi, Tazuna squeaked, running into the mist, blindly making his way back to his house. Kakashi sighed in relief, locking eyes with Zabuza. I'm going to kill you. Lovely, Zabuza grunts, before smirking. But I'll kill you first. Kubikiribocho regenerated from where Kakashi's multiple kunai scratched it, but what Kakashi didn't expect was it to continue growing and stabbed right through Kakashi's hand, aiming for his chest. Yanking his hand out of the blade and dodging the attack, Kakashi hissed as he felt his hand pour out blood. Now this wasn't good. Kubikiribocho had an upgrade, and who knew if Zabuza did? So close, Zabuza pouted like a child. I'll get you next time, copy ninja. Kakashi took in a deep breath, his red eye morphing into something different. Not if I get you first. Pipe slash backslash pipe backslash slash pipe. Sir. Leave me. Gato orders, shooing away his bodyguards. Now. But. I'll have you killed, the rich man remarked offhandedly, succeeding in shutting up his subordinate. Slamming the door behind him, Gato locked it before collapsing on the ground, wheezing for air. Ah, a voice said from the dark, you're back. And late by 2 minutes. I had to deal with. Not good enough, the voice tuts, you said it yourself, remember? You want power. And I can't give it to you every time you come late by a few minutes. Gato coughed, still gasping for air. Breathe. Ah, alright. The voice sounded suspiciously like it was trying its hardest not to laugh. Gato breathed in deep breaths as soon as he could, and sighed and sat back on the floor. It's only 102. 103. The voice sighs. You couldn't even tell if the person was male or female, the voice was like a mesh in between. Gato thought it was what those ninjas did, some sort of mana thing, was it? To be able to do literally anything. The rich businessman always thought it was something like magic, but after hiring some, he realized that they really liked killing people, well, most of the ones he hired, and they only really specialized in one element. Sorry. Gato rolled his eyes. Then he couldn't breathe anymore. Who is it that came to me begging for money and power? The voice taunts. I'm sorry. Gato choked. Fine. The voice sighs. You need to go through stage 2 now. Have fun. Gato's eyes widened as his neck starts to shoot burning pain, and his sight blurred. His tiny sunglasses fell and shattered on the ground, and he stumbled to his desk, sitting down and gasping for air as the pain shot through his system. Stop it. No answer. Did you not hear me? I said stop it. No answer. Ninja and his tricks. I said. A spasm. Stop it. Another spasm. No answer. The shinobi watched from the shadows, looking quite happy with his work. He wondered why it was classified as kinjutsu, why forbid it when it does such a good job at making people suffer and force them into submission. This was interesting, and fun. Playing with civilians who thought they were incredibly powerful just because they had money, PFFT, naive idiots, was just so much fun, and then crushing their hopes at the end was the best. It just showed how weak people were. But no, he wasn't going to be like that. He was going to be the best of the best. Invulnerable, immortal, untouchable, a god. But first, he had to complete his research. Oh, and finish off Gato. Entertainment was soon going to be over. Pipe / pipe / pipe. Gaara was sitting cross-legged, making miniature war soldiers using his sand, forcing them to kill each other as entertainment. He sat on the rooftop of the cage tower, watching over his city quietly, and unnoticed. He liked being unnoticed. His father ever saw him as a weapon to be used, his siblings, even if they said they loved him, feared him, and everyone else treated him like a monster. Not like that was wrong, though. He was a monster. A container with a monster inside. Kill. Gaara whispered. Die. Unloved. No one misses you. Die. 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 Boy. Shukaku hisses, what do you think you're doing? Gaara ignores the voice. It's always been there. Sometimes right. Sometimes wrong. But it was a monster. I said, what are you doing? Don't ignore me, bastard. You're the bastard, Gaara muttered, before standing up. I want to go play. No one likes you, kid. Just accept it. Go find someone like you then. Someone else with my kind. I don't want to leave. Gaara looked up at the sky. I like it here. No you don't. Now shoo, your father's calling. I hate him, Gaara says stubbornly, but still drops down from the tower and uses his sand to enter the cage's office through the window. The fourth cage wasn't surprised, not even looking up from his paperwork and tugging his cage hat down a little. Sit. Yes, father. The redhead sits down as his siblings file into the room, both of them laughing with each other. As soon as they saw Gaara, they quietened down and sat in their spots. Father, Temari asked timidly, what is this meeting about? You will be attending the Chunin exams in Konohagakure, Rasa said stiffly, as well as infiltrating for our Konoha attack mission. Kankuro nods slowly. Okay. Makes sense. All three of you, the Yondaime emphasizes. I'm going. Gaara questioned. He was usually cooped up inside Sunagakure for safety reasons, and while his siblings took on genin missions, he was just ordered not to rampage or do anything stupid. Yes, Rasa smiled sadistically, you, our ultimate weapon. With you, we can crush Konoha. All three children had no idea where this desire to destroy Konohagakure came from, but it wasn't like they were going to provoke him by asking. Temari then asked, do we show our skills during the exam? Not anything powerful, the cage replied. I want them to be taken by surprise. I want to see them scream. Okay. Kankuro nods. So we basically flunk the exam so we can beat them up afterwards. Oh yes, the Yondaime grins, understood. I want you to train thrice as hard as usual. Hi. Temari and Kankuro stand up to leave, with Gaara and Rasa left in the room. Rasa turns to Gaara. Don't mess anything up. Yes. Gaara leaves too, a heavy feeling on his heart. He just wanted to. He didn't know what he wanted to do. This wasn't new. Maybe he just wanted to kill some people. It's worked before for this heavy feeling. Sometimes when Gaara felt like this, he'd want to see blood. His own, someone else's, someone's as they die, it all works. Gaara hums to himself, locking himself in his room as he goes to the ensuite. Standing there in the mirror, the boy suddenly wished he didn't look so much like his father. Sand, he cooed softly, and the sand sharpened into a knife and slowly drew blood on Gaara's arm. Ah, makes me feel better. Bastard, stop harming yourself. Gaara snapped. It's none of your business, monster. Please. This is unhealthy, not good for you. I don't want to be sealed in some other worse bastard, okay? Just stop it. I won't listen to you, Gaara sneers, deeper. The sand obliged, and it was tainted a deep maroon as it cut deeper into Gaara's arm. You're going to hit a vein, bastard. Stop it. I won't stop. Gaara smiles at himself in the mirror. I won't stop. Letting the blood drip onto his hand, the Jinchuriki slammed his red left hand onto the mirror, the sound echoing as the red liquid slowly trickled down the glass. Gaara watched the red flow down all the way to the sink, marveling at the beauty of the color. When it was thick, it was dark. When it was thin, it was light. When it was dry, it was dark. When it was fresh, it was light. Geez kid, stop it. I'm trying to heal you here. Never. Gaara smiled at himself in the mirror, the blood seemingly on his face. It feels too good. Bastard. Never. Bastard. You could die. You know what? I could care less. I could die. Then maybe I should kill father before I do. Gaara softly sang to himself, completely oblivious to the fact that the Aikibi had actually tried to help him. The one-tailed beast huffed, and swore never to help this ungrateful brat ever again. What was the Biju thinking, actually offering advice to a human? Those things knew nothing, except wanting power and power this and power that. Shukaku growled. Greedy humans. Chunin exams, in Kanahagakure. I can kill people there. Shukaku snorts. Not to mention his container is this half-insane child who had more bloodlust than the whole shinobi village combined. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself in some underground water system, which apparently wasn't great, with water all over the ground and was getting Naruto's toes wet. The boy his head sideways. What's this place? Seems like you finally found me, a voice said from behind. Naruto whirled around to see the Kyuubi behind golden bars, front pawns crossed in a menacing glare on the fox's face. The boy gasped dramatically. That's why sensei calls me a fox. That's why everyone calls me a fox. You. Kurama blinked. Are you mad because of that? Oi you. Naruto growled. Sensei told me about you. Tailed beast blah blah. I didn't understand anything but a huge animal with a lot of chakra to spare. A what? This was not the reaction the tailed beast was accepting. He was expecting something more Minato-like. Charge at him with the intent to seal him back somewhere and liked to smile a lot as he was saying the jutsu that was about to take his life. But no, the Kyuubi got Kushina-like. And even in the Biju's mind, Minato was better. Much better. A huge animal. Naruto squinted. Are you half deaf or something? Do I need to learn sign language to be able to communicate with you? Communicate. Kurama leaned forwards, sneering. No way. We here are not in a partnership of any kind. You let me out, I won't kill you. Naruto shook his head, grinning. You can't kill me anyways. Oi, since you live here with me, you gotta gimme rent. Understood. When I want your red chakra, you give it. Or I'll never release you. The Biju snorts. You won't release me in the end, anyways. Says who? Naruto bellowed. I, Naruto Uzumaki, swear to release the Kyuubi if I think he's not dangerous enough to kill anyone good or go on a rampage or destroy Konoha again or hate my teammates and sensei or he's my enemy, but if he's my friend he won't be sealed anymore, or if he tries to kill any good Konoha nin or. You talk a lot, Kit. Kurama smirks. Alright, we'll do that. Not like the seal weakens if I give you my chakra anyways. Don't even think about wearing out the seal. Naruto beamed. Sensei says he knows someone who knows the key to restrengthening it, and I'll learn it soon, Datbeo. Kurama hissed. He definitely underestimated the kid. Okay. You've thought of a lot. Course. Naruto shuddered. I had to sit down and learn all about you this one time when Sakura-chan got to do taijutsu work and Sasuke-tem got to work on his Sharingan. Not fair. Kurama growls. You want my chakra or not, twat? Stop being so mean to me. I'm your owner, you know. I'm your container who had to deal with lugging you around, fox. Naruto retorts, before giving the gigantic fox a thumbs up, which somehow confused the Biju at his sudden attitude change. Let's do this. Naruto's vision swam and cleared, but this time he was looking at the dull gray sky of Saturday morning at 2:23 am. He felt his ribs, and they were on the way to being healed. He felt his supposedly dislocated shoulder. It was fine, with a tiny sting of pain. He felt his formerly bleeding head. It was sticky, but no new blood was there. Alrighty. Naruto hopped up onto his feet, unbalanced for a bit, but steadied himself. His hands creating his most beloved seal, with a smirk on his face. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto clones appeared, but their eyes were red and teeth were bared and sharp. Naruto blanched. Look normal, geez. Now let's go help out Sasuke-tem. The team of about a dozen clones charged forwards, taking Maizu head on as Naruto leapt down to help Sasuke, who was sweating a river and was puffing like he'd run a marathon. The raven-haired boy peered up as Naruto saved him from an oncoming attack. You're late. Gomen, Naruto said sincerely, the Kyuubi took longer than expected to convince to lend me his chakra. Oi Kit, I'm right here you know. I know, Naruto nods, as he fights with new energy and manages to push Gozu backwards, making the Nukenin retreat. But please shut up so I can concentrate. No promises, Sasuke said for Kurama with a slight smile, sliding past his teammate's defense and delivered a powerful kick at Gozu's stomach, making the man fly and land painfully on his back. The demon brother cried out in pain, rolling around. Sasuke pulls out his kunai and tackles him quickly, pushing the kunai against the Nukenin's neck. I'm warning you, Naruto yelled, ducking under Maizu's chain attack. You'd better stop or Tem'll slice your bro's neck open. Your children, Maizu sneers, of course he wouldn't kill someone. Sasuke looked coldly down at Gozu, who fearfully looked back up. You hear that? Well, too bad. Dobi. Naruto nods. Do it. And Sasuke's hand moved, and Gozu's scream was cut short, warm thick red blood coating Sasuke's hands. Sighing, his Sharingan powered off and the Uchiha fell to the side of the dead demon brother, panting as the chakra exhaustion caught up with him. You. Eyes on me. Naruto's chakra-coated shuriken was thrown so hard at Maizu's chest that it came out the other side. Naruto blinked, puffing, before smiling slightly. Thanks, Kyuubi-kun. You helped me out there. Maizu looked blankly down at his chest, marveling at the sight of his blood and the shuriken which tore through his body, before face planting into the ground, blood coming out from the corners of his mouth. Naruto's clones, which had all been defeated by Maizu, but had used up all of the demon brother's energy in exchange, were gone, and all that was left was an exhausted Naruto walking slowly to a Sasuke who was fleeting in between consciousness and unconsciousness. We did it, Tem. Naruto sighed, collapsing next to his teammate. Sasuke nods weakly. You know, you're not all that bad, Dobi. Same to you. Naruto grinned and held up a fist. Sasuke looked at it for a while, before huffing and giving Naruto a fist bump. That was a one-time thing. Of course. Don't sound so smug. Of course. Shut up and let me sleep peacefully. Hold on, what about Usagi-chan? Oh frick. Pipe slash backslash pipe backslash slash pipe. Kakashi was in a similar state to Sasuke, both of them overusing their Sharingan. He was landing quite ungracefully every time he dodged an attack, but still managed to stay on his feet, like the capable Konoha nin he was. Zabuza launched forwards, swiping Kubikiribocho to cleave off Kakashi's head. But that Kakashi turned into smoke and the real one appeared behind the Nukenin, a katana in hand. Kakashi hasn't used a sword like this in full-on battle since his old Anbu times because it always brought back too many memories, but always packed one just in case. The two blades meet, with Zabuza turning around with frightening speed. The copy nin was the first to pull away, his blade lighter and weaker, but much faster. Zabuza could see that Kakashi was getting tired, but so was he, and he couldn't keep up with the copy nin's speed and small but multiple attack approach. The Hatake also always retreated after every attack, so Kubikiribocho's new morphing skill wouldn't work. Enough, Zabuza growled. Sweden. Hahenryu. A gigantic torrent of water sped towards Kakashi, and the ex-Anbu captain just managed to escape unscathed, but wasn't able to escape the next one. Sweden. Heidoro Panpu. The first thing Kakashi thought was that Zabuza liked to yell the names like Naruto before he was struck with the most powerful water jutsu he had even been hit with, and the Jonin flew a couple hundred meters away, rolling and coughing up blood and unsteadily used his katana to stand up. It was a pity that his Ninken was on another mission from the Hokage, which Kakashi found unreasonable, but wouldn't argue with the old man, or else Zabuza would be long dead and he wouldn't have to go through all this pain. Why aren't you doing any jutsus? Zabuza swung Kubikiribocho expertly around. Saving up for something. I'll kill you before that happens. Kakashi coughed up more red. Yeah, whatever. Actually do it, will you? Don't just dream about it and do nothing. Zabuza charged with a battle cry, Kubikiribocho twisting and shaping a totally new shape, which looked like a weird lopsided version of a shuriken on a stick. Kakashi sighed and blocked the attack with his katana, not even reacting when his blade shattered, but kicked Zabuza's stomach instead and knocked the Nukenin back a couple of meters. Tossing aside his now useless hilt, Kakashi backed away, fishing inside his thigh pouch for something. Anything. And pulled out Senbon. Very familiar looking Senbon. Oh it, Kakashi muttered, flexing his fingers and placing the Senbon in between his fingers. The Senbon shined a clear white, and Kakashi's mind was suddenly brought back to when Obito died. This was stupid. He was going to let down his team, again, and be the only one left alive, again, and there was probably no one left to help him. But the white glow felt warm in his hands, and the Jonin of Konohagakure grit his teeth. Well, he was going to die trying anyways. Zabuza's water clone appeared in front of him, but Kakashi just brushed past it, identifying it using his Sharingan. Seeing the real one nearby, Kakashi used some of his reserve chakra and shunshined right next to him, stabbing the Nukenin with his Senbon right in the chest. What the? Zabuza went into a choking fit, stumbling backwards. Kakashi smiled sadistically. Senbon created from the shards of my old sword. What was it called again? White chakra saber or something. Too bad I didn't take care of it, or else I would have embedded the whole thing in your pitifully disgusting face. Zabuza ripped it out of his neck, thrusting it back at Kakashi, who skillfully dodged. I'ma kill you. You've said that a tad too many times. Kakashi smiled, but dodged Zabuza's swinging attack. Poking his hand back into his pocket, Kakashi yanked out more Senbon and thrust the white metal straight at Zabuza's face, but was blocked by the twisting blade of Kubikiribocho. Zabuza smirked. Why not use Mangekyo again? Scared? Or maybe you can't. Kakashi cursed. He had used a strong genjutsu on Zabuza, which led to him almost killing Zabuza within the first 5 minutes of their match, but then Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan flickered off, as this was the first time he'd used it since he quit Anbu, and to be honest, he swore he was close to being blind from using it. But now, Kakashi leapt backwards, crouching down to catch his breath. He was bordering the thin line between adrenaline and chakra exhaustion, and the Jonin did not like it. This is stupid, Kakashi mutters, I need to finish you off. Zabuza, who was also close to being completely exhausted, leaned against Kubikiribocho for support. Same here. Just die, will you? At least your brats can say you died honorably at the hand of Zabuza Momochi. Oh wait, they'll probably be dead too. Off, Kakashi forced his left eye back open again, despite his eyes already crying tears of blood. Look into my eye, dipshit. Zabuza laughs, but does. What? You wouldn't believe how many people have fallen for that, Kakashi mutters, activating the Sharingan. Zabuza, who had no strength, fell to his knees, coughing up blood. I am not going to fall victim to that. Reikiri. Zabuza's mouth sprouted a fountain of red, before he looked with wide eyes at Kakashi, whose hand was still encased with lightning. The sound of birds echoed in the background, as Zabuza's eyes dimmed and he fell limp. Kakashi huffed, stumbling back, his jutsu turning off, the blue light fading as he hunched over, trying to back his breath. Then the Konoha nin glanced back at Zabuza's dead corpse, musing at how that was a scarily close call. That hasn't happened in a while, and it was refreshing to the copy ninja at how there were other skilled people out there. Well, Kakashi sighed, I killed you first, even if you whined about killing me the most. And now, I get to, wretches. God damn it. Pipe slash backslash pipe backslash slash pipe. You're good, Haku murmurs, but not good enough. Sakura grit her teeth, trying her hardest not to think about the fact she looked more like a porcupine than a human being. Oh really? Who says I'm done? Look at yourself. Haku sounded like he was smirking, but Sakura couldn't tell because of the hunter nin mask. She had finally identified his mask, in the midst of being a live target for Haku, not being able to do any damage to him. Sakura smiled faintly. You really do underestimate me, you think I've just been dodging this whole time. I'm going to send you to hell and back before you ultimately go to Satan. Come at me, Baka. Haku sighed, before attacking Sakura again, his respect for the girl growing larger and larger. She was only genin, but was still standing up even if she was close to falling and accepting defeat. Sakura's eyes closed, and Haku's widened. This girl, she planned something. Veering off to the left, Haku aimed and shot, but was surprised to see Sakura poof off. A clone. Something embedded itself into Haku's body, and the boy jumped back into the mirror. Sakura, who was somehow right in front of him, opened her eyes with a smile. I hit you. Haku looked down. You. A shuriken was there, in his thigh, and warm blood trickling down his right leg. Haku sneered. Lucky shot. He attacked. He ended up with a kunai stuck dangerously deep into his shoulder, more blood coming out, and Sakura was puffing, but otherwise unharmed. Predictable, Sakura mutters, a sense of accomplishment rushing through her. Finally. She could finally put her plan into action. Haku kept trying to attack Sakura, but the girl only countered but substituting herself so quickly Haku thought she was teleporting at light speed. She used everything. Her own clones, discarded kunai, even Haku's senbon she sometimes tore out of her body to place all around the dome. The Nukenin growled and tackled her this one time, not even aiming for an escape route and pinned her to the ground. You can't. Kawarimi no Jutsu. Sakura beamed, her right hand forming the set of seals. Haku landed uncomfortably on a set of his own senbon, and he chuckled dryly as he pulled them out of his stomach. So you can do it with one hand. Blame sensei. Sakura was behind him with a kunai against his neck. He's the one who had us do an E-rank with one hand. Haku breathed in, calming himself. Your sensei is a very good teacher, but annoying. Sensatsu shusho. Sakura gasped as her body was used as a pincushion, water senbon flying towards her. The girl collapsed, but then smiled weakly. This was all going to plan. The Konoha nin was surprised as to how this was actually working, but if it was, then she wasn't going to question it. Haku flew back into his mirror dome, eyes narrowed. I will defeat you. Long way to go, Sakura commented, before seeing the step forwards of his left leg and substituted away, knowing that Haku was going to attack. The boy cursed when he saw Sakura disappear. But he accounted for that. He was faster than her, that he knew. Much faster. And so when he twisted round to throw more Senbon, he was surprised to see Sakura already having her cloak blocking that side, so the needles bounced harmlessly off and she substituted away, out of harm's way. Left, right, 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 left, center, left, left, behind, left, right, right. Haku's eyes widened. Is that my attack pattern? You bet, Sakura smiled, before she tapped lightly on the dome. The ice cracked, and the dome shattered on top of the duo. Gomen, Sensei, Doden, Dorio Dango. She tore out the earth, hauling a huge piece of it and smashed it against the shattering dome, also sandwiching Haku in the process. The boy just managed to escape, but used up the remaining chakra he had left to substitute with a branch nearby. He huffed, his mask with a crack down the center of it. Sakura whirled around, a shuriken already thrown, nailing Haku's mask. I wish you didn't escape, Sakura muttered, because now I have to do taijutsu against someone like you. Haku's mask fell off, and you could see an angry look on his face. You. Kawarimi no jutsu. Sakura was saved by that, as huge shards of ice burst from the ground, all aiming at her. Sakura gulped. Haku was supposed to run out of chakra, not gain more. Why else did the ice dome shatter if not because of chakra exhaustion? And Haku stood there, frigid. Skin somehow darkened. Sakura couldn't see because of the mist, but it looked like some sort of fire pattern tattoo. The Nukenin raised a hand, and thousands of water Senbon raised with it, and Haku's eyes snapped open, and his wrist flicked. The water shot forwards, and Sakura couldn't see anything to substitute with, and so she mustered up more chakra. But found she had none left. Freaking low reserves, Sakura hissed, pulling out 2 kunai. Fine. You little. She stopped talking, blocking most of the Senbon aimed at her weak parts, but her legs and torso was embedded with more Senbon. Really? Sakura wondered if her teammates and sensei could recognize her now. Looking half dead and actually being able to stand up was a miracle. Sakura grunts, feeling her chakra flame almost extinguish, but forced more energy into it. If her teammates could do it, then she could. She didn't have a tailed beast, and she wasn't an Uchiha, but she was Sakura Haruno, and that was enough. Her flame grew to just enough for what she needed. Alright, she smiles, let's do this. Doden. Dorio Dango. Pipe / pipe. Kakashi found Sakura first, unconscious with a dead Haku underneath a huge boulder. She must have used her emergency, twice. There was another one that had a surprising amount of ice underneath it. Slinging her gently over his shoulder so he wouldn't push in any of the Senbon inside, the man limped towards where he sensed his 2 other students. The mist had cleared, as it was Zabuza's doing, and Kakashi easily spotted the 2 of them lying down at the entrance of the bridge. Naruto was chatting happily to Sasuke, who was nodding and humming as he tried to stay conscious. Boys, Kakashi walked over, placing Sakura down gently and sitting down himself. Good job. Wonderful. Sensei. Naruto exclaimed, sitting up. They were totally overpowered. Different. I know, Kakashi nods. I'll look into that. But on a good thought, I think I can get you promoted to Chunin soon. If you can fight like that. Really? Naruto beamed, before looking down at Sasuke, who was nodding off. You hear that? We're gonna be Chunin when we go back. Sasuke mumbled, wincing as he sat up. Sensei. We all need medical attention. Kakashi looks down at Sakura. I wonder how she fought looking like a porcupine. Naruto, your arm is purple with poison, and Sasuke, I really need you to learn how to learn not to overuse that dojutsu. You overused it too, Sasuke pointed out, your eye is still bleeding. That's different, Kakashi muttered. How do you tell a child that once you've gone through trauma, you get this thing called Mangekyo Sharingan, which is ridiculously overpowered, but when you use it, there's a chance you can go blind? Sensei. Naruto paled. Someone was coming. Actually, more than one person. It was like a mob. The Jonin pinched the bridge of his nose. We have the worst luck in the world. Naruto, you can use your emergency. You have the most chakra, but if you can't, I'll deal with them. Naruto grinned, getting up. He swayed a bit. I'm fine, Dadbao. Let's show those thugs who's boss. Don't. Naruto ran off. Overdo it. Sasuke snorts, settling back onto his back. He'll definitely overdo it. Of course, Kakashi sighed. Futon. Shinkaha. They waited. No more Naruto happened. Sasuke shot up onto his feet, wobbling slightly, ignored Kakashi's calls and limped forwards, eyes morphing back into his underdeveloped Sharingan, looking rapidly for a knucklehead ninja. And there he was, surrounded by more thugs, even if half of them were decapitated by his emergency jutsu. Kakashi sighs, knowing that adrenaline was the only thing keeping Sasuke on his feet. Sasuke, Kakashi held out a hand. Come here. The Uchiha spun around, eyes wide with panic. But, I'm not going to stop you, Kakashi said impatiently, come here. Sasuke staggers over, before placing his hand in Kakashi's. The Jonin wasted no time in transferring his chakra, which was a silvery white color, and gave the remains of it, which wasn't much but contributed to keeping Sasuke on his feet, to the genin. Sensei. Sasuke's eyes were wide. It's the chakra transfer technique. Kakashi dismissed it, something you'll learn later on. Now go help Naruto. Dobi. Sasuke whirled around, Sharingan flashing, and the genin substituted with his teammate and formed his hand seals. Raiden. Jion. Naruto gaped as Sasuke's laser tore through the remaining thugs and left none alive. Tem. The Jinchuriki ran forwards, but then thought better and substituted with a dead body and appeared next to Sasuke's unconscious body, which wavered on his feet and collapsed. You idiot, you were supposed to stay back. Taking Sasuke back to Kakashi, who was attending to his hand wound which was still bleeding rivers and Sakura was all bandaged up, the man was not surprised to see Naruto carrying Sasuke. You shouldn't tell him you carried, he'll be mad. I know. Naruto sits down. Is your hand okay, sensei? Is your arm okay? Kakashi replies, giving the genin a look. Naruto sighs and looks down at his purple turning brown arm. No. What do? We see if my basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu can help, or I get one of my old Anbu medics to come. Kakashi looks up at the sky. Hopefully the former. None of the medics are that nice. They'll probably beat me up for taking genin on a C-A rank mission. A rank? Naruto muses. Oh, I mean, if they were all overpowered, they were definitely way more dangerous. Kakashi hums. Seems like I trained you right. Now, I'm gonna carry you all to Tazuna's house. Can you walk? Dat. Naruto face planted into the ground, Kurama no longer supplying chakra and energy. Kakashi sighed, hauling the two boys over his shoulders and carried Sakura in his arms. Brats. He limped away, leaving a devastated area behind. The ground was torn into pieces, not to mention Sakura's upturned ground area, and dead bodies littered the ground. Kakashi hoped Tazuna could forgive Sasuke for the gigantic laser slash through the bridge, and Naruto for the huge wind cuts in the bridge too. Meh. They saved his life. Pipe slash pipe backslash slash pipe. You're kidding. Naruto's mouth fell open. We're still not done with this mission. You can go back, Kakashi offered, but I'm going to investigate how they got their extreme power boosts. The demon brothers don't have that kind of strength to muster up that ultimate jutsu of theirs. Nup. Naruto shook his head. Sakura nods slowly. We're going with you. Infiltration, right? Sasuke smirks. Let's do this. Hold on. Kakashi flicked their foreheads. None of you know anything about actually doing infiltration. Go. Tell me. What do you need to have mastered before you go to some rich gang's lair? A map of inside. Good try, brat. Kind of. Sometimes. Scrap that. Most of the time you'll end up somewhere you don't know or don't have information on. Being able to blend into the background. Good. Emo. Ooh, what about interrogating skills? Yes, but we don't have time to do that. What's the most obvious thing? Stealth. Exactly. Now, since all three of you are injured, you'll be chakra meditating until I tell you to stop. Sit here, in your room, and do nothing but meditating. Once I get more rest and chakra, I'll heal the rest of your wounds. Sakura peered up. Sensei, what do you specialize in? You know so much. Kakashi I smiled. Me. Oh, I specialize in assassination. But that comes with a whole lot of other stuff, and the people around me specialize in different things, so I just pick them up. Oh, that reminds me, think about what you want to specialize in. The three genin gaped at how casually he had said, assassination, and he waved while walking away to his own room. The three of them exchanged looks, before sitting down in a circle and closing their eyes to meditate. But before they could, Naruto had a question. Shouldn't we kinda spread our specialized areas so we cover most of them? He asked. That would make it very efficient. We should study everything, Sasuke argues, opening his eyes. Sakura hummed. I agree with both of you. We can nail the basics of all of them, but then we specialize in different stuff. You know. Let's decide. Naruto beamed. This isn't a decision to be made lightly, Sasuke reprimanded. Sakura grins. I wanna do medical ninjutsu. Dojutsu, Sasuke echoed. Ninjutsu. Naruto grinned. Sakura shakes her head. We can share that one. Fuinjutsu. Naruto thought for a moment, before deciding on that one. Didn't Sensei say that the Uzumaki were seal masters? I'm gonna become one, Datbeo. And re-establish Uzushiogakure. What happened to becoming Hokage? Sasuke asked dryly. I'll do that too. Naruto grinned. Sakura shook her head. Boys. But can't we specialize in two? Or more? Those can come later. Sasuke hissed. We need to meditate or else Sensei'll kill us. Right. Sakura nods. But all three of them were thinking as they meditated. They needed something that suited all of them. Thank Kami for their totally different personalities and chakra affinities, or else they'd probably break out in a fight to see who'd specialize in what. A tall figure stood up in the dark, at about 1 am, wearing something he hasn't worn in front of his students before. The three smaller silhouettes peered up, looking up at their teacher. They said nothing, but waited for an answer. Kakashi tugged on his old Anbu chest plate, before nodding subtly, not looking back. Team 7 moves quickly, silently, using their chakra control to stick onto the outer walls of Gato's lair. It was a tall building built on top of an isolated island, surrounded by trees. It was just off the coast of the Land of Waves, barely visible to the eye when you stood on the beach. There were about 17 floors altogether, and the group was splitting up the floors. Sakura took the lower 5 floors to use her earth jutsus to their best ability. Then it was Sasuke, who took the next 5 floors. Naruto took the next 5, and Kakashi took the top 2 as it took the longest to get up there, and because he wanted his students to do most of the work, to give them a taste of infiltration. Sasuke was the fastest to take up the silent movement during the first 3-4 days, but surprisingly it was Sakura who was fastest at learning the silent killing. It was great that they had a whole week and a half to train in this. Naruto, unfortunately, was not suited for this, but was better than the other two at creating diversions, and so that's what they were doing. Naruto was to create a diversion and draw all attention to him, and then Sakura and Sasuke will enter. And then Kakashi will. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Commence operation. Naruto slipped into level 15, making sure to deliberately tip off the Windows alarm, before rolling inside and easily taking out the guards, who weren't shinobi. The red alarm turned on, blaring through the whole building, alerting everyone, including the rest of Team 7, who were waiting patiently outside and next to a window. That's Konoha Anbu, a guard yelled. Naruto grinned under his fox mask. They were finally allowed to wear their uniforms and masks to protect their identities, and it felt good to be called one of Konoha's elite shinobi. Even if it was literally an assassination and tactics squad. He swung expertly around, dodging some person's pathetic attempt to nail him with arrows. Ah, the bow and arrow. Naruto frowned as he knocked out the whole hallway within a minute. Did Kakashi know how to use the bow and arrow? Probably. He knew a lot. Once Naruto was inside for 2 minutes, clearing the 15th floor, Sakura and Sasuke exchanged glances along the side of the building before slipping in through their designated windows, careful not to set off their alarms. Sakura easily aimed her shurikens for the throat of all of the guards, finding that hers weren't shinobi either. Sasuke, however, was having a hard time getting all of them to shut up, as his level was dedicated people their age, which Sasuke theorized was for them to train to be the next bodyguards for Gato. Sasuke couldn't exactly kill them, but he couldn't let them assist their elders, and so he proceeded to knock them out, which proved to be a nuisance and took up a lot of time. Just shut up, Sasuke grunts, whirling between them, knocking them out quickly, but left a girl who looked startling like Sakura, green eyes wide. You. Tell me where the bastard Gato is. The girl growled. Never. Do it. Sasuke pulled out a kunai. Now. No. Sasuke sighed. I'm asking nicely. Please tell me where the bastard Gato is. All he got was a rapid shake of her head and incoherent muttering. Sasuke grumbled, I won't kill you if you do. The girl was stubborn, which led to Sasuke knocking her out too, before using his chakra wires, which were coils that could be strengthened by its user's chakra, to bound the door and windows tightly so they couldn't get out before silently moving on to the next room. Kakashi really needed to teach them torture and interrogation. Kakashi was still waiting at the 4-minute mark, his mind whirling with the worst possibilities that could happen to his genin. But he trusted them. This wasn't too bad, and his clone had only reported Zabuza and his team as the only hired Nukenin. He just hoped his clone was right. And that was 7 minutes. Time for the master of infiltration and assassinate to enter the plan. Kakashi slipped into the top level, slinking in and out of the shadows, bypassing 4 elite guards easily. How did he know they were elite? They had the letters ELITE etched on their chest plates, and killed them silently, not even their bodies falling to the ground with a thump. Kakashi had used his white chakra saber Senbon, nailing them quickly in the neck. He winced as he needed to throw 3 to kill 1 guard. He was really losing his touch. He needed to train, and maybe adopt a little of his team's thought process of, must get stronger or else I'm not working hard enough. Unfortunately, the 17th floor was empty all except for shipping cargo of drugs and tobacco. Oh, and don't forget alcohol. Freaking bastards, Kakashi mutters, pinching his nose as he placed seals around the rooms. Illegal shipping, and what the hell is this? Where did they get Proxenia from? Proxenia was the infamous drug at the center of Kakashi's first and largest drug case. It could give people hormones for 10 days after 1 dose, as well as give them characteristics of any animal they like, as long as they had the DNA. And it was long out of produce, now being banned in all nations. It could kill people who were addicted, especially those using it for a long time. Kakashi barely remembered being injected with it for this one time, and it made him feel like God. Not to mention he had a wolf's DNA, earning him the nickname of Pup in his very first Anbu team. Well, Kakashi activated the seals, no one's putting a hand on them now. The seal was used so someone without Kakashi's chakra signature couldn't walk into the area within the seals, and that was the whole room. If they did, Kakashi would be instantly alerted and they would be paralyzed. Ah, the wonderful inventions of Kushina Uzumaki. Walking out of the room silently, the ex-Anbu captain raided the other rooms, no longer even counting how many people he had killed. Room 1 had Proxenia, Room 2 also had Proxenia, Room 3 had the highest priced tobacco, and Room 4 had at least 2 decades old of whiskey. Kakashi stood at the top of the staircase, looking down. Where the hell did they get all this good stuff? He could barely see down the pitch-dark staircase, but the red alarms from Naruto's level was painfully obvious. Kakashi chuckled as he heard Naruto's footsteps speed down the stairs, followed by the boys yelling taunts and the rest of the guards clambering to follow him. Oi, come and get me, you insufferable set of nagging children who can't do a single freaking toddler thing. Kakashi winced. He also needed to work on taunts. But it worked, and Kakashi was easily able to blend in his footsteps with the ones downstairs. Arriving at the 16th level, he wasn't surprised to see the door locked firmly shut due to Naruto's distraction, and easily knocked it down with a good chakra kick. Intruder. Kakashi smiled. He was the only one not wearing the Anbu mask or cloak. His cloak was the Jonin-designed one, black and was just used to cover the back, and his mask was his usual one to cover up the lower half of his face. There was no point in protecting his identity. In the bingo book, he's labeled as Hound Copy Ninja as an S-rank assassin, with his profile picture being a blurred one with the only visible as his signature gravity-defying hair. And you can't get rid of the hair. Nope. Kakashi will murder whoever wants to put a wig on him or get him to dye his hair. Hi, Kakashi waves, before appearing beside the first two guards and slicing their necks open without so much of a warning, dodging the slowest attacks Kakashi has ever seen from bodyguards. Actually, he remembered that time he was sent to assassinate the fire daimyo's second cousin thrice removed. Her bodyguards were just lazies, and killed all 9 guards in a flash. He clapped his hands together, admiring his work, before kicking down a particularly fancy door. Nothing was inside. Nothing alive. Well, Kakashi didn't think it were alive. The Jonin steps inside, seeing something rather familiar. It was a simply table in the center of the room, a desk to the left corner, and a bed to the right corner. On the table, there was a body, covered with white sheets. Taking a moment to check the pulse of the body, Kakashi narrowed his eyes. Dead. Good reflexes, a voice drawled. Kakashi had dodged almost inhumanely fast, barely surviving an attack. A sword was thrown with so much force that the table split in half and shattered. Kakashi wasn't surprised, even if the table was made out of stone. Because opposite him, in the doorway, looking so freaking casual despite Kakashi being Konoha top ninja, was. Kakashi ducked and twisted in the air, snakes shooting out and attempting to bite him. Orochimaru, the snake Sanin. Fast, Orochimaru muses, have I underestimated you? You certainly have grown, Hitaki pup. Kakashi doesn't react to the nickname. Ah, thanks. Now I'd like to know why you, a renowned Nukenin, is doing here, in the land of waves. Orochimaru smiles slyly. Isn't that what you'd do if you're bored? Pick a fight somewhere else where no one'll know. No. Kakashi looks at the Sanin blankly. I'd go talk to Guy. He certainly makes my life a whole lot more interesting. Orochimaru barks out a laugh, before his emotions sober and he approaches Kakashi slowly. The Konoha nin stands there, looking casual, but both men knew that the other was definitely on their guard and wouldn't hesitate to strike. It was obvious, some time ago, that Orochimaru was stronger. But now the Sanin looks the son of the White Fang in the eye, and sees a much stronger man and is definitely not going to let down his guard around the ex-Anbu captain. Have you been experimenting again? Kakashi asked offhandedly. Orochimaru glares at him pleasantly. None of your business. Well, Kakashi smiled. You want to tell me something, don't you? Orochimaru sneers. I have a message for the Sandame. Tell him to keep an eye out for his safety. The Sandame. Kakashi levels Orochimaru's cold glare with his own, and after years of being in the Anbu, he's perfected that glare. I'm sorry, why don't you tell him yourself? Scared? Oh, just to keep the sense of mystery, and I like using you as a pawn. Orochimaru smirks, before walking past Kakashi and opening the window. All best be going. I do hope you did like the Momochi entertainment I supplied. Was that enough to boost your little cute genin team? Kakashi snorts, throwing a kunai. I'm the only one who gets to call them cute. Orochimaru barely catches it, blood trickling down the ex-Konoha nin's fingers. Very well. Kakashi knew he couldn't pursue the Sannin. There was a whole lot of risks with just holding a conversation with the traitor, not to mention he had a genin team downstairs infiltrating Gato-turned-Orochimaru's lair. Kakashi needed to get them out, and fast. Orochimaru turned around to leave, narrowing his eyes. "I'll leave this," he drops the kunai, wiping the blade clean using his purple robes, before disappearing out of the room. Kakashi wonders if the 16th floor is high enough of a fall to fatally wound the Sannin, but snorts. This was Orochimaru they were talking about. Power-hungry little self-centered bitch. Exiting the room, but not before also sealing that room, Kakashi walks out, not caring about his loud footsteps. He needed to get the rest of the 16th floor cleared, before checking up on his genin. Speeding through the floor, Kakashi found nothing but more drugs. Now how they got Cetus was a complete mystery, and needed be looked into, and found himself close to running out of seals. He really didn't want to draw them on manually with chakra. Brat. Kakashi shunshined to Sakura's side to find her lounging on the 5th floor while filing her nails with a kunai. Sakura looked up. "Sensei. Levels 1 to 5 are clear." "I can tell," Kakashi said dryly. "Now, let's head up." "Hi." Sakura stood up, looking unrecognizable with her hood and mask on. The two of them walked silently up the stairs, passing the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th floor. There was Sasuke, on level 10, swiftly breaking the neck of the last guard. Kakashi nods slowly. "You had the most to take care of." Sasuke sighed, standing up slowly. "I know. There was way more than normal, even more than Dobi, probably. Maybe he walked into a trap and they went down to check on the kids." "Kids?" Sakura asked. Sasuke jerked his head backwards. "Second last door. Room full of people our age." "Really?" Kakashi mused. "There's a lot of shady things going on inside of here. Proxenia, Cetus, tobacco, alcohol, traitor, and now kids." Sasuke simply shrugs, walking over to stand by Kakashi and Sakura. "I have no idea what's going on." "Gato not here?" Kakashi asked, changing the subject. Sasuke shook his head. "Must have been on Naruto's levels," Sakura says, just before the floor above them crashed open and a Naruto strangling Gato burst through the floor. Again, Gato's skin was patterned with black tattoos, like the one Sakura saw on Haku. Naruto snarled, obviously concentrating. "Freaking bastard." Kakashi threw Naruto off Gato, tossing his student out of the way. "The cursed seal of heaven. Back off. I should have known." "The what of what?" Naruto gasped for breath, leaning heavily on Sasuke and Sakura, who had been on the receiving side of Kakashi's toss. "Enko Mitarashi has it," Kakashi says casually as he fights against stage 2, cringing in disgust as Gato grew limb-like wings. "All Jonin have been briefed as to what to do when she goes out of control. It's a cursed seal." Kakashi cut himself off to deliver a chakra-infused punch into Gato's abdomen. Created by Orochimaru, to give his subjects, he dodged Gato's swinging attack. More power but gives him more control over them. Kakashi huffs, delivering a powerful kick to Gato's face, completely knocking out the man. But it's not effective on civis, the people who know nothing about power, chakra and taijutsu. His three students gape. Naruto gulped. "You just gave us a lecture on that seal while fighting against Orochimaru's subordinate." "Play toy," Kakashi corrected. "If it was actually Orochimaru's subordinate, I might have to get serious like when I fought Zabuza." Sakura then remembered. "Sensei. Haku also had a mark like that." "Of course," Kakashi growled, "entertainment. That's why. Power-ups, frick. That wretched little." Kakashi sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Let's go. The land of waves'll clean this up if we give Tazuna the details and he brings it to the daimyo." "Hi," the three genin bow, before turning to each other, knowing they all had a smile on their faces. Their first infiltration mission was a success. Pipe/backslash pipe/pipe. Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari all waiting impatiently for the shinobi to return. They had left the earlier night at 7 p.m. to walk across the water to get to Gato's island. As it was quite a far way for beginners to walk on water, Kakashi had planned for them to leave early, at least it was winter, so it was already pitch black at 7, so they could rest inside the surrounding forest. And now it was 7 p.m. again, an exact 24 hours later. Are they? Inari wiped at his eyes. I'm not crying. Are they going to come back? I hope. Tsunami kisses her son's forehead. PFF'd. Tazuna sounded unsure himself. Obviously they will. They're doing so much for us, Tsunami whispered, patting Inari's head. How will we repay them? You don't need to, Tsunami-san. Naruto chirped, walking out of the mist with a bright smile. We're back. Have you been crying, Inari? No. Inari protested, but then ran forwards to give Naruto a hug. Thanks, for dealing with Gato. You mean this old lump here? Sakura groaned, throwing Gato down on the ground. I had to lug him on the water. We split up the distance, Sasuke reminded her. And when we weren't lugging him, we got to sit in the boat. Kakashi smiled. Well, I hope you're all alright. Yes, we are. Tsunami bowed as low as she could. Arigato. Thanks you so much. Gato has been terrorizing this place for a long time now, and you've dealt with him. Kakashi was about to say that he only did it because Gato was involved with other shinobi, but thought again and went against that. It wasn't a good idea to make Tsunami mad or feel lower than a shinobi. Ma, we didn't really do anything. Sorry, but we have to leave early. We've stayed long enough, and I need to get these 3 brats into tip-top shape for the Chunin exams. Tazuna grunts. About time you left. Thanks. And goodbye. Tsunami chuckled. He's a sour old man, but he's grateful. Are you sure you don't want to stay a little longer? I don't want to impose, Kakashi replied. Take Gato to the daimyo, she'll find some sort of solution. I've heard Katsumi Chikailu is good at her job. Chikailu-sama is, Tsunami agreed. And once more, thank you. Kakashi nods, before turning to his genin. Oi brats, let's go. You're leaving, Inari gasped. I'll remember to visit, Naruto promised, ruffling the younger boy's hair. Inari gulped back his tears. You better. Let's go, Dobi. Sasuke nudged his teammate, and the genin and Jonin depart for Konoha. Along the way, the 3 of them also had to do some training. But first, Kakashi wanted to know their specialities. The 3 genin were still deciding on the smaller, refined categories, but had a good think about it and knew what they wanted. Sakura went first. Medical ninjutsu and genjutsu, sensei. Kakashi hums. Very good choice. Suited for your long-range attacks and explicit chakra control. Sakura beamed. Arigato. I was thinking more kenjutsu and dojutsu, Sasuke offered, running a hand through his hair. The Sharingan is really helpful, but it drains a lot of energy. Kenjutsu. Naruto gasped. Forbidden techniques. We didn't talk about that. I thought you were going to specialize in whatever its name is, the weapons one to stab people and skewer them with stuff like swords. That is kenjutsu, Kakashi deadpans, kenjutsu is forbidden techniques. Oh, Naruto his head sideways, kicking a rock on the road. Really? It sounds the same to me. It is similar, Sakura nods. Then what about you, Naruto? Kakashi inquired. Naruto grinned. I'm going to focus on Fuinjutsu and Sensory, Dadbeo. Kakashi smiles. All of you have picked good categories for yourselves, and it helps that it's different to each other. Now I obviously can't teach you all of them, but I can get you some good tutors. I'll teach you all the basics, but the problem is when you guys get to the advanced stage. Sakura, for genjutsu, I can bribe Kurenai to teach you some advanced stuff when the time comes. Medical ninjutsu, that I need to think about. Naruto, Fuinjutsu, I can teach you Uzumaki seals, but to find an advanced tutor, something else to think about. Sensory, I'll get that one favor Yugao owes me. Next, Sasuke, I'm the only one who can teach you dojutsu, even if I'm not an Uchiha. For Kenjutsu, I'll ask Yugao to ask Hayate. There. Who and who? Naruto sighed. Whatever. I trust you, sensei. Kakashi ruffled his student's hair. I want you all to do a handstand. This is for endurance training. All of them complied. And have fun walking in them all the way back. What but sensei? Lesson 1, Sasuke said tiredly through Sakura's words. Sakura shook her head, but almost lost her balance. Can we use chakra? Lesson 14, Kakashi reminded her, there are loopholes in rules. Exploit them. Did I ever say that you weren't allowed to use chakra? I just want you three to do handstands and stay in that form until we reach the gates of Konoha. Alrighty. Naruto grinned. Let's do this. Sasuke and Sakura both simultaneously let out a sigh, but smiled a little as well. Naruto in his never-ending cheerfulness and excitement. Pipe / pipe / pipe. Hiruzen was currently thinking that he was too old for this. You're saying, the Sandaime said slowly, that you took your genin team, which you've only had for a total of about 4 weeks, to the land of waves, encountered Zabuza Momochi and his team, killed him and his team, infiltrated one of the land of waves, largest crime dealer's lair, ran into Orochimaru the traitor Sannin as well, and came out unscathed. Kakashi shrugged. I wouldn't say unscathed, they had their first kill on this mission. Oh, and almost died too. Not to mention it was C-A rank. S rank, the Hokage corrected. Running into Orochimaru and Zabuza Momochi is no small thing. Well, it was just me really. I dealt with them both, Kakashi mused, but then added, they didn't even see Orochimaru, not did he actually put up a fight. Hiruzen sighed, pinching his nose. Naruto pouted. Stop talking like we're not here. You aren't. Kakashi turned around to give them an eye smile. Officially. Very well. Hiruzen stood up. I, Hiruzen Sarutobi, use my authority as the Sandaime Hokage to promote Team 7 lead by Kakashi Hatake to Chunin level, for being able to remain calm in panicking situations, and being back to hold their own against high-ranking Nukenin, and still coming back. The 3 genin blinked. Naruto opened his mouth. So, we're officially Chunin. Kind of. Hiruzen smiled. There's another thing I need you to do before you're officially promoted. Sasuke mused. And what's that, Hokage-sama? The Sandaime chuckled. The Uchiha really did remind him of Kakashi, Naruto of Obito, and Sakura of an extreme version of Rin. Enter the Chunin exams. Sakura smiled. Chunin in the Chunin exams? Exactly. Hiruzen sighed, wishing he had his pipe, but didn't want to smoke in front of these children. I think you know about the rumors of Otogakure and Sunagakure teaming up together to invade Konoha during the Chunin exams. Sasuke asked. Yes. Sensei told us. Hiruzen chuckled. You never miss a thing, Kakashi. Kakashi shrugged. I want you to keep an eye on the Suna Nin and the Oto Nin. Actually, I want you to keep an eye on them all. Konoha Nin included, the Hokage said sternly. There is a high chance we have a traitor amongst us, and it would make sense for them to enter the Chunin exams. Naruto looks at him blankly. I don't understand a thing. So we're pretty much going to enter the exam to spy on everyone. Like everyone. Correct. Hiruzen smiled. How could he forgot about Naruto's personality? It was probably the uniform. Damn Kakashi and his smart little ideas that can change a whole lot of things. Including how Naruto stands with his straight posture, it seems. Before we leave, Kakashi said, I'd like to know if my tutoring ideas are okay. With me, or them? The Sandaime straightened to look up at the tall Jonin. Kakashi nods his head. All. I think it's fine. The Sandaime nods, so Kurenai, Guy, Yugao, Hayate. And maybe Genma. And Jiraiya and Tsunade. I'm more worried about Kurenai and Jiraiya and Tsunade. Kakashi shrugs. The Hokage smiles. I'll get you their details. Don't bother with Yugao, Hayate and Genma. Kakashi grins under his mask. They owe me a couple of favors. And Hokage-sama. Kakashi's hands flashed in Anbu sign language, conveying a message that the genin now Chunin couldn't understand. Orochimaru had a warning for you to keep an eye out on your safety. The Sandame nods, face grave. Dismissed. Kakashi Hatake, 009720, Jonin. Sakura Haruno, 012601, Chunin. Sasuke Uchiha, 012606, Chunin. Naruto Uzumaki, 012607, GE, Chunin, Dadbao. Hiruzen chuckled as Team 7 left, hearing Kakashi's announcement of learning the basics of each jutsu category after some combat training and the children's sounds of excitement. The least the Sandame could do for Kakashi was get him the teachers he needed, since he was the one who pressured the Jonin into creating a genius team. Flipping through his files, he found the latest contact details for his other two students, Jiraiya and Tsunade. It took a while of rummaging, mostly because it was protected with traps and other protective measures. Jiraiya was last seen in Omegakure, and Tsunade was gambling away in some small city on the edge of the Land of Fire. Interesting. Combining those two files and closing with the newest poster of ICHA, Hiruzen gave it to an Anbu operative, knowing that she wouldn't open it. Give this to Kakashi Hatake, he orders. Hi, Hokage-sama. As the green-haired woman arrives at Training Ground 3, she was surprised to see Sasuke and Sakura going full out on a ninjutsu battle and Naruto was continuously summoning clones, one at a time. There was about a whole crowd of Narutos, and their job was to remain as still as possible in the positions Kakashi gave them. Hound-sama, the Anbu woman bowed, holding out the file. From Hokage-sama. Thanks, Kakashi nods gratefully, taking it and nonchalantly opening it. He grins when he sees what's inside. And can you please tell the whole Anbu department to stop calling me Hound? I've retired, geez. The woman smiled under her mouse mask. I cannot do that, Hound-sama. You never truly retire from Anbu, sir. Kakashi sighs. Alright, whatever. Dismissed. The woman nods, shining away. Sasuke huffs, jumping out of the way of Sakura's rock attack. You're part of the Anbu. Was, Kakashi nods. Ages ago. Oi, you two. Stop. That's enough. Brat, come here. Sakura walked over, confused. Happy late birthday. Kakashi smiles warmly, passing her Tsunade's file. Sakura was stunned, before looking down at the file slowly. She opened the cover and her mouth fell wide open at Tsunade's profile picture. I did tell you I'd think about your medical nin tutor, right? Birthday. Naruto walked over. Was it your birthday? Sakura nods. It was. A week-ish ago. The day you did silent killing, Kakashi supplied. And that's your gift. Happy birthday, Sasuke said, walking over. I'll get you something tomorrow. Sakura panicked. You don't have to. It's just my birthday. I'll get you something too. Naruto grinned. We did get our share of the mission money, remember? Not to mention the Land of Waves daimyo was nice enough to quadruple our price because of Gato. And I'll get you something you'll love, Dadbao. Kakashi smiled. Well, that's nice. Back to training. Naruto groaned, before putting his hands together to create more clones. Sasuke turns to Sakura, only to see her slam her hand on the ground and trap him in the turning rocks. The Uchiha smirked before he disappeared in a poof of smoke, having been a clone. Sakura lets out an annoyed huff, but manages to leap out of the way of Sasuke's fireball. Now this was called training. Sakura was slowly catching up in terms of taijutsu, and Naruto's control is getting better. Sasuke was learning to be more social with his teammates, as proved by the fact that he offered to buy Sakura a gift. Kakashi smiled. This was great. The training was coming along and the council got their results. They even got to Chunin, albeit it took longer than they wanted, but seriously, 2 weeks isn't enough time. A season had passed. Team 7's daily schedule looked like this for the 3 months. 6 am to 8 am, taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu training with Kakashi. 8 am to 8:30 am, breakfast, Kakashi's restaurant of choice, while hanged as someone else, sometimes as each other. 8:30 am to 12:30 p.m., specialist training with their individual tutors. 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m., that was in the hands of the specialist trainers. Sometimes it was nothing with the trainer eating lunch in front of their student, other times it was the student cooking for the two of them. 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., specialist training again, but it was usually with a different tutor. 5:30 p.m. to 6 p.m., taking turns making dinner for each other, all from produce they had to buy, grow or find themselves. 6 p.m. to 8-ish p.m., basics with Kakashi. Basics of everything, including medical ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, sensory, bukijutsu. Other times it was small C ranks, to boost their teamwork and learn each other's new skills. Whenever they finish their mission or lesson to 10 p.m., chakra meditation. Some days Kakashi would get them stay longer, some days he dismissed them at 10. Other times he'd get them to go up to 11. Other times he'd get them up at 5 or 4, just so they can meditate in the morning as well. It was always a surprise, no pattern, and was really the only out-of-schedule item that Team 7 had. Sensei. Sakura smiles, waving. She was already all warmed up, having worked with Kurenai earlier. It was now 6 p.m., time to spend with Kakashi and the rest of Team 7. Kakashi looked up, and I smiled. Hey, brat, come, we're not going to do meditating today. Oh, Sasuke straightened, pushing off the tree he was leaning on, since he had worked with Kakashi on his Sharingan. Really? You're testing us, right? Sakura grins. The exams are in 3 days, so you're going to see how good we are after 3 months of training, right? Kakashi nods. Correct. Now what we need is that knucklehead. I'm here, Naruto gasped, rushing towards ground 3, where his team waited. Geez, Azuki-san's a really hard teacher. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. Really? Or is it just that she would eat ramen in front of you when you ate nothing? Come on, Naruto pouted. If it was anything else, then I'd understand. But sensei, it was ramen. That's illegal. Completely wrong. Kakashi sighed. Alright, let's do a training fight. Rules. You 3, against me. Not allowed to go out of the training ground. Come at me with everything you've got, kids. Oh, and don't forget to use whatever new you've learnt. Let's go. We haven't done this in ages, Sakura noted as Kakashi shunshined away. The good thing was, all 3 of them had learnt the shunshin during the 2nd month of training, and were all pretty decent at using it. The only problem was that they didn't know where to go, and even if the other 2 turned Naruto, they all weren't surprised when he couldn't sense the X-Anbu. Naruto groaned. I thought I was doing so well at sensing, and sensei comes along and crushes my self-confidence. He'll always do that, Sasuke said dryly, especially when he compliments you at doing well and actually thinking you're doing excellent. Let's scout the outlines. Sakura gets down to business. He said it himself, like a month ago, that he couldn't pass as civilian since he was a child. Naruto may not be good at a wide spread of sensing, but he can do a smaller spread with extreme intensity. So Sasuke and I go around setting traps and slowly make the ground smaller for Sensei to teleport, because he doesn't know if he gets caught into one. Naruto nods slowly. What she said. What's your smaller range? Sasuke started to take out chakra coils and shurikens. Naruto frowned. About 300 meters. What's your large range? Sakura stretched. About 2 kilometers. Naruto his head sideways. I'm trying to get it better, and get my finer range wider too. That's pretty good, Sakura grins, let's do this. And all 3 of them shunshin to 3 different points, all knowing that Naruto went to the center, Sasuke to the right, and Sakura to the left. It was one of those things, like how you never interrupt Naruto when he eats ramen or when Sakura when she's chakra meditating, that the team just knew from spending time with each other. Naruto shrank his range quickly, focusing quickly on the details. He knew where Sasuke and Sakura were vaguely, but then they extinguished their obvious chakra signatures, going off Naruto's radar. That was a good sign, meaning that Naruto was definitely focusing on the area around him. He caught a small light in the corner of his mindscape. How he sensed was almost like an extra dimension inside his brain, or what Yuga liked to call Uzumaki's mindscape. It was almost like a 3D grid inside his mind, and when he sensed something, a light lit up somewhere on the grid. Naruto flashed his chakra. Long, short, right. Shunshining to the exact spot he sensed Kakashi. Naruto snorts as he saw on the trunk beside him, was the scratched-in letters of, "Good job," in an obvious Kakashi handwriting. The good thing was that Naruto couldn't mess up his teammates and sensei, simply because they're a color to it. Kakashi was white, Sakura was green, like her eyes, and Sasuke was navy. But Naruto could sense Sasuke and Sakura both in his range now, because they both had Sunshine to the right. But that meant Kakashi would most likely teleport to the left to avoid the rest of Team 7. But to Shunshin you need chakra. Naruto's range widened almost instantly, and just caught the extinguish of Kakashi's chakra. He flared his chakra again. Short, long. Left, long, short, long. Center. This time, only Sasuke sunshined, arriving right where Naruto last sensed Kakashi. Quite frustratingly, Kakashi's chakra appeared for a second before disappearing right before Sasuke's appeared in that spot. This chase ran for a while, for about half an hour when Sakura's chakra spiked and all three of them appeared at her spot, Naruto already a little disorientated from widened and closing his range too many times. Kakashi had been caught in one of Sakura's ingenious traps, which set off as soon as he stepped inside. The chakra wire set off with his chakra signature and the wire strung up his foot. Even if he substituted with a stick almost instantly, his team, which had inherited his fast reflexes to use ranks, had appeared almost as soon as he made the sign to substitute. Crap. Sakura slammed a genjutsu onto the area, hands blurring together to create seals. I forgot about Kawarimi. What genjutsu? Sasuke asks, brushing right past his teammate's mistake. She frowns. It's the one where he thinks he's being attacked but isn't. He still hasn't dispelled it because we're all wearing the uniform, so he doesn't know if it's Naruto's clones or my genjutsu. Good. Sasuke activated his Sharingan. Where is he? Dobi. Naruto pulled out two kunai. To our right. About 18 meters, and a tiny bit to the north. You might be able to hear him. Sasuke and Naruto shunshin into the area, but Sakura simply substitutes, she's better at Kawarimi than shunshin, into the trees further ahead so she can see what's going on instead of engaging with Kakashi. Just as the boys appeared, Sakura winced, feeling her sensei dispel her genjutsu. That was incredibly fast, especially since Naruto's clones and Sakura's fake attacking genjutsu puppets looked exactly the same. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto called, and 6 clones appeared behind him. Kakashi knocked 2 out with one kick, and the team instantly knew that he was all warmed up and ready to go. The Jonin smiled. Sasuke instantly slipped under a Naruto clone's legs, using the clone's smoke when it gets destroyed as a smokescreen, and threw a punch Kakashi, who caught it quickly. Sasuke cursed. Even with his Sharingan on and Kakashi's covered, they were still on par with speed. But being on par with speed didn't mean Kakashi was faster. No, the Jonin had to concentrate slightly to keep up with his students' movements, which was something that Kakashi praised. Sasuke ducked under Kakashi's roundhouse kick, kicking out his own leg in a low sweep. Kakashi jumped over it, before jumping backwards, Sakura's Senbon from afar missing its target. Sasuke watched the Senbon fly past his face before bolting forwards, a kunai in hand. Kakashi ducked under Sasuke jab, before grabbing his student's arm and tossing the Uchiha at Sakura, who stumbled backwards but caught Sasuke. Kakashi shunshined behind the duo, hands already forming seals. He smiled. Sweden no jutsu. A stream of water shot out of his mouth and barreled towards the 2 students, with the 2 of them sunshining right before the water would have hit them. Kakashi whistled at the small crater the water left after slamming into the ground. It seemed picking up that jutsu from Zabuza wasn't a bad idea. Kakashi sensed Naruto's huge chakra from behind, and just managed to substitute out of the way as a huge gust of wind completely devastated the area for about a 500-meter radius. Kakashi appeared behind the Jinchuriki, humming happily as Sasuke was also there. He smiled, just as Sasuke whirled around, nailing a kick in his face. Naruto gaped. Did you actually hit Sen? A clone? Sasuke cursed, before turning to Naruto. Where is he? Sakura-chan. 50 meters to our northwest. Naruto's eyes widened, before the two of them instantly shunshined to her side. There stood Kakashi, looking cheerful, while Sakura was being held hostage. She was upside down, tied up with chakra coils. But Kakashi was also looking a little rough. His Hitai-8 had an obvious scratch that wasn't there before, and there was a bloody tear on his arm. Did Sasuke's eyes were slightly wide. Sakura do that? The girl scowled. HMMPH. Kakashi pulled her to the ground, setting her straight, undid the gag, and gave the three a smile. You did well. All three of you. We lost. Naruto cried dramatically. Oh wait, we were never going to win. Sensei, how do you know where Sakura-chan was? Luck. Kakashi shrugged. It seemed like that recap session a couple of days ago on suppressing chakra worked well. She was very well hidden, a lot of traps. Though, she entered my range just as she substituted with something else, so I caught her. Woo! Sakura blew a strand of hair out of her face. That was exhilarating. Kakashi smiled again. Time for a little touch-up on genjutsu. All of you should know at least one, so let's test those out. Sakura, nice genjutsu earlier. It took me a while to figure it out. Sakura beamed. Sasuke ran his hands through the seals in preparation, but Naruto just blinked and stood there blankly. Kakashi sighed. Naruto really did need to learn a genjutsu, who knows when it'll come in handy. Pipe /pipe /pipe. The esteemed grandson and the #1 knucklehead hyperactive ninja, dubbed by Sasuke Uchiha, stood together on a road, the younger boy running around Naruto and making extremely loud noises that made the Chunin wince. Konohamaru, Naruto sighed, I don't have the time for this. The boy pouted. But it's your day off. I need to prepare for the Chunin exams which are tomorrow, Naruto replied, tugging his Team 7 cloak tighter to his body. And geez, it is cold. Sakura and Sasuke walk down the road, and Naruto grins at them. In Sakura's hair, there was a customized pin to hold back her flyaway hairs, which was a white Roman numeral 7 with black and pink Sakura flowers around it. On her hands were gloves like Sasuke, and also had Senbon inside of them. But it was crimson to match her outfit, her old gear, not navy. Sakura-chan, Naruto grinned. You're wearing your birthday presents. Yeah, the girl beamed, the clip's really helpful in keeping hair up, Naruto. Thanks. Naruto smiles back, before sighing as Konohamaru jumps onto his back. Naruto ni, teach me your strongest jutsu. I don't think that's a good idea, Naruto said dryly. Sasuke nods at him. We need to go train. Naruto mouthed a, thank you, before pulling Konohamaru off of him. Hear that? I'll play with you after the exams. Konohamaru pouted before stomping away. I don't care anymore. You will 5 minutes later, Naruto muttered, before turning to his teammates with a tired smile. He's always like that, so what now? Are we actually training? Sakura shakes her head. Kind of. Sensei says to find as many participants as possible, so we went looking for you. You're our censor. So. Naruto trailed off. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Look for the other Konoha rookies. You know, Team 10 and 8. Right-o. Naruto's eyes turned red and feline, his mouth tightening into a frown as he concentrated on extending his range to cover most of Konoha, which could only be done with the Kyuubi's help. I can sense the Shadow Dude and his team training on ground 3, and the other teams eating lunch at Ichiraku's. Why are they having lunch so early? Isn't it only 10? Sakura hit him on the head. They're eating breakfast, baka. Why don't we check out the other village nins? Okay. Naruto frowned. Hey. I'm sensing another Jinchuriki or something. Jinchuriki. Where? Sasuke asked. They had all ran through a Sharingan and tailed beast Jinchuriki information session during one of their training sessions with Kakashi in the evening, so they all knew each other's strengths and abilities. Behind you. Naruto pointed, and Sakura and Sasuke whirl around to see three Suna nins walking together, and it was obvious that two were avoiding the third. The redhead. And rightly so. The boy was emitting ki harshly and probably didn't even realize. The air was frigid, and when the boy walked past Team 7 without so much of a glance, they all knew that his affinity was earth, as the air texture was rough and felt like mud. Him? Sasuke asked loud enough so the Suna nin could hear them. Naruto nods. Yeah, who? The redhead turned around with a frightening glare. Me. You dare. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto cut in, holding out a hand. Nice to meet you. Are y'all from Suna? Yes, the female said, but then shrinks when the redhead turns to her. Gaara, let's go. HMPH, Gaara growled, turning back to glare at Naruto who didn't even flinch under the full force of his ki. They once pissed Kakashi off so bad, when they didn't sleep in their gear, he let out around half of his ki and almost made them piss their pants and make them want to run back home. Gaara's underdeveloped ki was nothing compared to that. Naruto smiled. Well, it's nice to meet you, Gaara. I hope we can be friends. The other two Suna nin winced and looked away. Gaara snorts. Whatever. Let's go, Temari, Kankuro. Sakura jumped in. They needed time to evaluate the other nins. It was better to know more about your potential enemy than nothing. Are you guys siblings? How'd you guess? Temari asked, looking coldly at Sakura, who returned the glare with a honey-coated smile that made Temari rethink her approach. Well, Sakura smiled, you just give off that vibe. Not really. Team 7 had been given authority to go through the files as one of the proctors, as said by the Sandame. The files had all the information of the genin coming into Konoha to attend the exam, and through that, all of Team 7 now knew family relationships and length of being a genin, as well as appearance. Yeah, we're siblings. Kankuro glared at her. So what? Nothing, Sasuke said coolly, sending a warning glance at him. The air was tense around them, Kankuro and Sasuke having a glaring competition as Sakura and Temari attempted to get information out of the other, and Naruto was chirping happily to a confused and annoyed Gaara, who had no idea how to interact with others who voluntarily interacted with him. Kakashi appeared to save them. Brats, you've got training. Hi, sensei. Sasuke nods, breaking eye contact with Kankuro. The Suna nin thought he should feel victorious, but somehow, even if Sasuke was the first to break eye contact, Kankuro only felt wariness and caution, as if Sasuke was still glaring at him. You too, obnoxious. Hi, Naruto grins. What are we doing? It's called Let's Find My Real Self. Kakashi smiled, and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Sakura sighed. Naruto. Nup. The boy strained, I can't find him. It was nice talking to you, Gaara. I'll see you all in the exams. Sakura nods respectfully at them as Sasuke simply looks over them blankly before the three of them turn around, walking in a line with Sakura coming up with possible places that their sensei could be and Sasuke nodding or shaking his head as Naruto focused on making his sensory area more detailed and deeper. Kankuro glanced at Temari. They give me the wrong feeling. It's like they're trying to get us to underestimate them, Temari agreed. The girl is strong. So's the guy, Kankuro added. Gaara snorts. As if they're stronger than me. Let's go. Hi, his two older siblings says quickly, ducking their heads and shivering as Gaara's ki was directed at them. Pipe /pipe /pipe. Ibiki Morino was not happy. Just because he let one of their prisoners escape for 2 hours doesn't mean he has to get punished like this. Of course, he had consequences, but he was not expecting the Sandame to chuckle and tell him that he had the perfect punishment. becoming a proctor of the Chunin exams, otherwise known throughout the Jonin rank as babysitting the genin. All right, brats, Ibiki bellowed, this is phase 1. A written exam. All of the genin quietened down, looking quite intimidated by Ibiki's expression and scars. All except for the wretched Hitaki's kids, who just lounge in their seats like this is what they usually see every day. If there was someone other than Ibiki to take over as head of torture and interrogation, it would have to be Kakashi Hitaki. His laid-back attitude switched to Anbu captain back in the old days was scary enough to freak even Ibiki out at times. And he wasn't surprised to see the Uchiha look at him with a bored expression, the Haruno to look down at her sheet with little interest, and the Uzumaki to look super confused, but when he looked down at the sheet, something clicked and he looked satisfied. After explaining the rules, Ibiki slammed his hand on his desk. We're going to begin. You have 1 hour. Keeping an eye on the genin, Ibiki looked at Haruno to see the girl humming easily to herself while writing down answers. The Tokubastu Jonin looks at the nearest Chunin, tilting his head slightly to ask the question. The man frantically nods, eyes wide. Ibiki nods slowly, looking back at the girl. So all her answers were right. That was new. No genin, or even Chunin, should know the answer of these questions. Holding up a copy of the test paper, Ibiki scanned the questions. He snorts softly. This girl was close to being an intellectual genius. Q1. Decipher this $1 AB 473 F $5 Georgia 3 KAJTBMOSGERBBI. Q2. Line B is the greatest possible distance a shinobi can throw his shuriken from a tree of 7 meters. For enemies who appear within the circumference of the shuriken's range, explain his attack options. Show working. Q3. A serial killer kidnapped 5 different people and sat them down each with 2 pills in their hand and a glass of water. He told them each to take 1 pill but warned them that one was poisonous and the other was harmless. Whichever pill the victim didn't take, the serial killer would take. Every victim somehow chose the poisonous pill and died. How did the serial killer get them all to take the poisonous pill? Q4. What were the results of the Canopy Bridge incident? Q5. Fill in the missing numbers. 8, 18, 11, 15, 5, 4, 14, 9, 19, 1, 7, 17, 6, 16. Q6. Look at the diagram. The pink shaded area is the safe area. Red dots around the safe area represent victims in need of help. What is the shortest route to get all of the victims into the safe zone? Draw out a line. Q7. If your target was running up a hill and had a 20-meter head start, if your stamina ratio was 3, 5, with your stamina higher, how long would it take for you to reach your target? Q8. You are a jury. A woman was in court for killing her husband. She said she wasn't guilty and that she dearly missed him. In the closing statement, the woman's lawyer stands up and says, her husband was just missing. Everyone look at the doors. He's going to walk through them in about 30 seconds. Everyone, you included, stares at the doors waiting for this woman's husband to walk through the doors. The lawyer and the woman stare at you. The lawyer concludes by saying, see, if you were so sure she killed her husband, you wouldn't be watching that door. Is she guilty or innocent? Q9. Write down the names of all the past and current Kage. Ibiki looked back up to see the pink-haired girl flip her sheet over and cross her arms, finished. Now that was fast. Looking over at the other members of Team 7, Ibiki saw the 2 boys doing nothing. Absolutely nothing but playing around. The blonde was whispering rather discreetly to the Hyuga girl beside him. Ibiki was wondering if only he could see it, because the boy was so good at it, and the Uchiha was whistling. Annoyingly. Suddenly, Uzumaki lurched up in his seat and slammed his hand against his sheet of paper. Ibiki's eyes widened slightly. Was that a seal that he just activated? Without warning, the sheet lit on fire, as well as the whole rose table, a column of fire rushing to the right from the left. Uzumaki bellowed, "Oi, which one of you did that? I'll kill you, Dadbeo." The whole row turned to look to their left, where the fire had started, and one Iwa Nin shook his head rapidly. It wasn't me, I swear. Oh yeah, Uzumaki snarled. Well, who's a fire affinity? They all looked at the Iwa Nin again, now all attention on that row. I swear, it wasn't me. Haruno started to hum in the background, and Uzumaki smiled. Uchiha sighed, and suddenly the Iwa Nin shot up in his seat and pointed at an Oto Nin. You. It was you. The girl growled. Oh, you wanna go? We'll go. The whole room erupted into mini fights, and Ibiki watched with amusement as Uchiha quickly substituted around the room, setting fire to everyone's papers, even his own. The other Chunin couldn't even see what was going on, a very good cover for the boy. And then the Tokubastu Jonin had to stop himself from raising his eyebrows as Haruno duplicated her sheet and passed it to Uzumaki, who duplicated it again and gave it to Uchiha, and all three of them sat down in sync and looked nonchalant like they didn't make the whole room fight and set half the room on fire. The Haruno girl caught his eye and smiled sweetly. He chuckled. Okay. Maybe Hataki wasn't so bad of a teacher. Brats. Ibiki hollered. Take a seat. Nodding at a specific Chunin, she stood up and doused the whole place with water. Team 7 was smart enough to cover their sheet up with their cloaks, but the same couldn't be said for the others. All of their papers were soggy. No complaining. Ibiki yelled. Use those wet ones. It was pretty boring afterwards, because Team 7 had achieved their goals and all they had to do was wait. This was much more entertaining than Ibiki had expected, and he mentally thanked Hataki for teaching such an interesting team, because now it wasn't so bad of a punishment. Too bad they all knew that question 10 was a bluff. Pipe // pipe / pipe. Kakashi looked up from Ika as he waited for his students, but found that it was Ibiki walking towards him. Yo. Kakashi waves. Ibiki regards him with a suspicious air. Those kids of yours, did you teach them how to make a good distraction? Kakashi chuckled. Ah, Naruto must have done something. He set the room on fire. With help from the Uchiha, Ibiki deadpanned. He never knows when to not overdo it. Kakashi sighed. Was it interesting? They worked well together, Ibiki said grudgingly. And it was surprisingly not boring. Kakashi smiled. Well, they must have been outstanding, if you complimented them. Shut up, Ibiki growled, and I better be going. What are you doing here? Waiting. Kakashi didn't elaborate, and Ibiki simply dismissed it before leaving. Kakashi looked back to his book, humming to himself for another 5 minutes before his 3 students came, with Naruto retelling the story of Phase 1 comically. Did you see the guy's face when I looked at him? And then Sakura-chan went like whoosh with her genjutsu and then he picked a fight with that freaky girl and... Sounds like you had a good time. Kakashi interrupted, I smiling. Sakura grinned. You should have seen the looks on their faces. That genjutsu worked so well. The reckless one. Sasuke hummed. It was a gamble, but it paid off. Sakura's genjutsu was the one where she would hum, and all those that heard would fall under it. It would make people angrily and overall make them more reckless, which makes the targets tend to abandon all sorts of plans and ordered attacks. If you were aware of the genjutsu, you could dispel it quickly, which is what Sakura's 2 teammates did. Sometimes making your opponents reckless was a good thing, sometimes it was bad. It was awesome. Naruto beamed. I heard you set the room on fire, Kakashi remarked. Sasuke shrugged. Dobi's seal set stuff on fire, so I just added on with some fireballs. Small ones. Medium, Sakura corrected. You set the whole right side of the room on fire. Nearly burnt me, Naruto agreed. Sasuke turns away. Whatever. Fire seal. Kakashi turned Naruto. How'd you do that? Oh, so you know that seal you showed me that can seal chakra. I got Tem to create a fireball and then I sealed it. In small stages, of course. You know that symbol thing you said would activate as long I stuck it somewhere and had a controller seal drawn somewhere. I stuck it next to Sakura-chan's seat and so she put a genjutsu on it and... Naruto broke off, eyes wide. Aye. Mitarashi-san is scary. She killed my clone who were pretending to be us. We really need to get to phase 2. Kakashi chuckled. Go for it. I'll see you after phase 2. Don't overdo it too much, you are attending the exams just for observational purposes. Hi.